Welcome back, everybody. Time for another unboxing. This time we have the Retron 2 2-in-1 gaming system, which features an SNES and an NES slot for gaming. Now, I picked this up for about $60 to $70 at Fred Meyer, of course, which is where I pick up most all my retro consoles. Now, this particular one was on sale, so it might have been a little cheaper. I just can't find the receipt, and I cannot remember. It gives you the option of course, S-Video or AV cables, of course, for your components. This seems like it can work in Britain as well, based on this. Looks like it might be universal. I was super excited to get this because I loved playing the SNES. There's a ton of games I love on there that they weren't the same on the Genesis. And then, of course, I do have some NES games I have a box of, which I'm trying to find right now since I picked this up. Now, of course, let's get started. Now, I actually got my first Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was actually my first video game console I ever owned myself. And I got my first Super Nintendo in, I want to say 1997, 1996. I actually got it from my cousin. He got an N64, so he gave me his hand-me-down. And the first games I had with it were Street Fighter 2, the Turbo Revival. And then, of course, I also got Toy Story, I got Diddy Kong's Quest, Star Fox, and Super Mario World. So, of course, you get your AV cables. And of course, S-Video for those of us who use it. I might use S-Video. It's one of the few components I don't have filled on my TV right now. And then you get an old school NES style controller here. I didn't play a whole lot of NES. My dad had a friend and I used to go over to his house where he'd use the Game Genie and I'd play Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3 a ton. But that was about it. I never had one. I mean, I sucked at Duck Hunt as a kid, which is, I know, real pathetic. I just wasn't very good at it. Buttons are very crisp. They bounce back. They've got a lot of pushback, but without too much resistance per se. So D-pad nearly feels loose, but it's not quite its quality. It's quite light too. Let's see how this one is. It's got both those L and R buttons. Got the X, Y, A, and B. All pretty firm. It's interesting because I don't know if you can see this. The A and B, they stick out a little bit, while the X and Y dip a little bit for the imprint of your thumb. Start a selector. See if I can get this straight. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A. Start, select, bam, Konami code. Yeah, I still got that. Now let's look at this console we've got here. So it's got an NES slot right here, and it's got an SNES slot. It's weird because the NES slot is rounded, which makes me think of an SNES game for some weird reason. And it's got a little switch here. You either push it down for SNES or up for NES, or you keep it in the middle. And then it's got, of course, power and reset, and then good old eject button. And then if you look at both sides, you have an SNES 1 and an NES 1, and then an SNES 2 and an NES 2. So they provide you with one controller for each, and then if you need more, you just buy them off Amazon or eBay. If I had to name my favorite games from the SNES, I can remember most of them right off the bat. The Aladdin game on the NES was pretty awesome. I also loved Street Fighter. Of course, I love that Diddy Kong's Quest. Wasn't a big fan of Star Fox because I wasn't too good at it. Other games, I love Shaq Fu. I know that game, a lot of people hate on that game, but I loved playing Shaq Fu. These controller parts fit in pretty well. The other games, God, what else did I love on the SNES? I loved Chrono Trigger. Super Punch-Out, I believe, was the other game I just loved to play on the SNES. I'd be playing for hours. I'd be beating Glass Joe. Everyone trying to get to the end, then I'd have to come in, like, blow in here, then blow in my cartridge as well. Overall, again, this console is not heavy at all. It's quite light. Let's see what else do we have in here. Finally, we've got the charger. Holy cow. I think this charger is heavier than the console. Yes, the charger is 2 to 1 heavier than the actual 2-in-1 console. That's crazy. A lot of power in this bad boy. Alright, so some of my favorite games. So I was thinking about it as I was unlocking this. I was like, you know, I've got to get my hands on some NES games and some more SNES, because there were a lot of games I loved playing back in the day. What are my favorite games? Punch-Out would be on there for the NES. Punch-Out featuring Mr. Dream, definitely. Paperboy. I imagine Final Fantasy, and then maybe Super Mario Brothers. Maybe 2 or 3 is on there. And definitely Dragon Quest. So that's everything that's in the Retron 2 2-in-1 gaming system with NES and SNES combined in one console. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Tyler, aka BlueMage492, aka Grand Lethal 16. Hey, if you have any suggestions for what I should be playing on the NES or SNES, hit me up in the comments below. Of course, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already.